67 years on this earth, and I'd never felt vindication hit quite like this. The lawyer's office was cold. Too cold for July in Atlanta, but sweat was rolling down my back anyway as I pulled out those divorce papers. Page after page of bank statements, text messages, witness depositions, all of it proving what everyone said I was imagining. "Mrs. Kincaid," Attorney Morris said, sliding her reading glasses down. She was a sharp sister in her 40s, came highly recommended by my church friend Wanda. "These documents show a pattern of financial abuse spanning at least 15 years. Hidden accounts, forged signatures on refinancing papers, systematically draining your mother's inheritance, your husband's own text messages to his brother admitting he kept you in the dark about money on purpose." I couldn't speak, couldn't do nothing but stare at Vernon's words right there in black and white. She don't need to know about the rental properties. What she don't know won't hurt her. LOL. LOL. He was laughing about it. "You were never imagining things," Attorney Morris said gently. "You were being deliberately deceived." The tears came then, hot and angry. Because for the last 3 years, every time I questioned Vernon about our finances, about where our money was going, about why we couldn't afford to fix the roof, but he had a brand new Cadillac, every single time he'd look at me with those sad eyes and say I was getting confused, getting old. Maybe I needed to see a doctor about my memory. And our daughter, Tamika? She'd backed him up every time. "Mama, Daddy's just trying to protect you from stress. You're worrying over nothing. Maybe you should talk to Pastor about these anxious thoughts." Even my son Darnell, my baby boy, had started looking at me different. Like I was fragile, like I was slipping. But I wasn't slipping. I was being pushed. Let me back up and tell you how it really started. Because the truth is, I didn't wake up one morning and decide to divorce my husband of 42 years. You don't just throw away 4 decades, you try. Lord knows, I tried. 6 months ago, I was still playing the part, still pretending everything was fine. We'd just had the family over for Sunday dinner after church. Collard greens, candied yams, cornbread, and my famous peach cobbler that Vernon always bragged about to everybody. Tamika brought her 3 kids. Darnell came with his wife Shanice and their twin boys, Zion and Isaiah. The house was full of noise and laughter, little ones running around while the grown folks sat on the porch with sweet tea. That's when I asked Vernon about the letter I'd found, just asked simple, while we were clearing plates. "Honey, what's this notice from the bank about a second mortgage?" The room got quiet. Not peaceful quiet. That other kind. Vernon set down his glass real slow. "Dolores, baby, we talked about this already. You must have forgot. That's refinancing paperwork from last year. All taken care of." "But it says..." "It says what I just told you it says." His voice had an edge now. "Why you always questioning me about business matters? I've been handling our finances for 40 years just fine." Tamika jumped in then, her voice all concerned. "Mama, you've been asking Daddy about the same papers 3 times now. Are you feeling okay?" I know my own mind. I'd never seen those papers before in my life. But the way they were all looking at me, Vernon with his patient smile, Tamika with worry in her eyes, even Shanice glancing away uncomfortable, I felt something crack inside me. "Maybe I am forgetting," I heard myself say, heard myself apologize, watched myself become smaller. Darnell squeezed my shoulder on his way out. "Ma, it's okay. We all get forgetful sometimes. Nothing to be ashamed of." After everybody left, Vernon kissed my forehead. "You had me worried there for a minute, Dee. Maybe we should make you a doctor's appointment, get you checked out." I cleaned the kitchen alone that night, scrubbing dishes until my hands were raw, trying to scrub away the feeling that I was disappearing, that I was being erased in my own house. That was the first time I really felt it. The fear. Not fear of Vernon hitting me. He never raised a hand to me. Not once. This was different. Deeper. The fear that maybe they were right. Maybe I was losing myself. But something in me refused to accept it. Call it stubbornness, call it the Holy Spirit, call it whatever you want. The next day, when Vernon went to his Monday morning golf game with his fraternity brothers, I went looking. I found the filing cabinet in the garage locked. It had never been locked before. I found his study, my grandmother's old sewing room, suddenly off limits because he needed privacy for important calls. I found myself shut out of bank accounts I'd had access to for decades. The passwords mysteriously changed. And I found something else. A shoebox in the back of his closet, behind the shoes he never wore. Inside were bank statements for accounts I'd never heard of, properties I didn't know we owned, life insurance policies, including one on me, taken out just 2 years ago that I never signed for. But the signature on that policy, it looked just like mine. My heart was hammering so hard I thought it might give out right there. I took pictures with my phone. Wanda had taught me how at our senior technology class at the church. Hands trembling, I put everything back exactly how I found it. That evening at dinner, I didn't say a word, just watched Vernon cut his pork chops, making small talk about his golf game, planning our upcoming anniversary like everything was normal. 42 years, Dee, he said, smiling at me across the table. We should do something special. Maybe renew our vows at the church. I smiled back. That sounds nice, baby. But inside I was screaming. Before we continue, please tell us where you're watching from so we know how far our stories reach, and subscribe to the channel to help us grow. I couldn't tell Tamika. Couldn't tell Darnell. They'd just say I was confused again, getting worked up over nothing. So I did something I never thought I'd do. I called Wanda at midnight, crying so hard I could barely breathe. Dolores? Baby, what's wrong? I think Vernon's stealing from me, I sobbed. I think he's been doing it for years, and I think he's trying to make me think I'm crazy so I won't figure it out. There was silence on the other end. Then, I'm coming over right now. No, he's here. Then you come to me. Tell him you're bringing me my Tupperware from Sunday. I'll be waiting. 20 minutes later, I was sitting in Wanda's kitchen, showing her the pictures on my phone. Wanda had been my friend for 35 years, since we both joined the usher board at Greater Mount Zion Baptist. She'd never steered me wrong. She looked at those pictures for a long time. Then she looked at me. This is financial abuse, Dee. And that forged signature? That's fraud. You need a lawyer, honey. A good one. I can't afford a lawyer. Vernon controls all the money. My niece is a divorce attorney. She'll see you for free just to talk. Will you do that? For me? I thought about 42 years of marriage. Thought about my children who already thought I was losing my mind. Thought about the church folks who'd whisper if I left my husband. Thought about being 67 and alone. Then I thought about that life insurance policy. About Vernon taking out a policy on me without my knowledge, with my forged signature. And I thought about how much easier his life would be if I just went away. If I had an accident. Or if my confused state got worse and he had to put me somewhere. The fear that shot through me then wasn't paranoia. It was survival instinct. Yes, I whispered. I'll see your niece. That's how I ended up in Attorney Morris's office 2 days later, telling a stranger things I'd never told anyone. About the financial control, about the gaslighting, about being made to feel invisible in my own life. About being married to a man who I suddenly realized I didn't know at all. Attorney Morris listened to everything. Then she said something that changed my life. Mrs. Kincaid, would you be willing to wear a wire? My blood ran cold. A wire? Like on TV? Like on TV. If your husband is doing what you say, and based on these documents, I believe he is, then we need to document his behavior, record him gaslighting you, get him to admit things on tape. It's legal in Georgia as long as one party consents, and you're that party. I don't know if I can. I understand this is frightening. But, Dolores? May I call you Dolores? I nodded. The statute of limitations is ticking on some of these financial crimes. And if there are more things you haven't discovered yet, more forgeries, more hidden assets, we need evidence, not just for a divorce, but potentially for criminal charges. Criminal charges against my husband, the father of my children, the man who'd promised before God to love and cherish me, the man who'd systematically stolen from me while making me think I was losing my mind. What do I have to do? I asked. For the next week, I wore a wire, a tiny recording device hidden under my blouse, so small you couldn't even see it. And I started asking Vernon questions. Careful questions. The kind that sounded innocent, but were designed to get him talking. Honey, I was going through some old papers, and I can't find the deed to the house. Do you know where it is? Dee, we've been over this. The deed is in the safe deposit box. You're worrying again. But when did we get a safe deposit box? I don't remember. Last year, baby. We went together. You must have forgot. Maybe you should make that doctor's appointment we talked about. Every conversation was recorded. Every lie. Every manipulation. Every time he tried to convince me I was confused, that my memory was failing, that I needed help. The worst part? How good he was at it. How concerned he sounded. How much he made even me start to doubt what I knew was true. But the wire didn't lie. The recordings were clear, and Attorney Morris was building a case that would blow Vernon's whole world apart. Then, 2 weeks ago, everything came to a head. Tamika called me, her voice tight with anger. Mama, we need to talk. Daddy says you've been acting paranoid, accusing him of stealing. He's worried about you. Tamika, baby, there's things you don't understand. No, Mama, you don't understand. Daddy has taken care of us our whole lives, and now you're making up stories? Talking about hidden bank accounts and forged signatures? Do you hear how you sound? I have proof. You have confusion, Mama, and it's breaking Daddy's heart. He wants you to see a neurologist, and honestly, I think you should, because this isn't like you. When she hung up, I sat there holding the phone, feeling the last piece of my old life crumble away. My own daughter didn't believe me, maybe wouldn't believe me even with proof. That's when I made my decision. I called Attorney Morris. File the papers, I said. All of them. Divorce and criminal fraud charges. I'm done. Are you sure? Once we do this, there's no going back. I'm sure. He took my money. He took my peace. He tried to take my mind. But he's not taking one more day of my life. 3 days later, Vernon was served, at his office, in front of his colleagues. The look on his face when he came home that evening was something I'd never seen before. The mask was gone. No more patient smiles or concerned husband routine. You've lost your damn mind, he said, his voice cold as December. You actually think you can divorce me? Take me to court? You got no money, Dolores, no job, no way to support yourself. And everybody, our kids, the church, everyone, knows you're not well. You think a judge is going to believe your crazy accusations? I was trembling, but I stood my ground. The judge is going to believe the bank statements, the forged documents, the recordings. Yeah, Vernon, I got recordings of every lie you told me for the past 3 weeks. His face went pale, then red, then something worse than either. It went calculating. You're making a big mistake, he said quietly. A very big mistake. You have no idea what I'm capable of. That night, I didn't sleep in our bedroom. I went to Wanda's house with a suitcase and the most important documents I could grab. And the next morning, I found out exactly what he meant. My car was gone from Wanda's driveway. My bank cards were canceled. My phone was disconnected. He'd removed me from the family plan. And when I called Tamika, sobbing, she said the words that nearly broke me. Mama, Daddy says you left in the middle of the night, confused and disoriented. He's filing for guardianship, to protect you. We all think it's for the best. Guardianship. He was trying to have me declared incompetent, to take away my rights as a human being. But Vernon had made one critical error. He'd underestimated me, underestimated Attorney Morris. And he'd underestimated what would happen when you push a woman too far. Because while he was busy trying to paint me as a confused old woman, Attorney Morris was busy filing emergency injunctions, presenting our evidence to a judge, and getting a court order that froze every single asset Vernon had, including the ones he thought I didn't know about. That's how I ended up back in her office today, holding these divorce papers. These beautiful, terrible, truth-telling divorce papers. The judge denied his guardianship petition, Attorney Morris said, sliding another document across her desk. She called his attempt transparently retaliatory and deeply concerning. She's ordered a full forensic accounting of all marital assets. And Dolores? She smiled. She's assigned him a criminal investigator. The DA's office is very interested in those forged signatures. I should have felt triumphant. Should have felt vindicated. And I did. But I also felt something else. Grief. For the life I thought I had. For the man I thought I married. For my children who still thought their father was the good guy. What happens now? I asked. Now? Now you get deposed. He gets deposed. We go through discovery. And in about 6 months, you'll stand in front of a judge and get your freedom. She paused. But I need you to prepare yourself, Dolores. Vernon is going to fight dirty. He's going to try to turn your children against you. He's going to try to isolate you. He's going to... Her secretary burst through the door, eyes wide. Ms. Morris, sorry to interrupt, but there's a situation. Mr. Kincaid is downstairs in the lobby with Mrs. Kincaid's daughter. They're demanding to see her. Building security is trying to... The office door slammed open. Vernon filled the doorway, Tamika right behind him, and the look on their faces told me this war was just beginning. Security! Attorney Morris was on her feet, phone already in her hand. I'm calling security right now. That won't be necessary, Vernon said, his voice dripping with false calm. But his eyes were wild, darting between me and the lawyer. I just want to talk to my wife. My confused, unwell wife who's been manipulated by... Your wife is my client. Attorney Morris cut him off, stepping between us. And you are trespassing. You have 30 seconds to leave before I have you arrested. Tamika pushed past Vernon, her face twisted with anger and hurt. Mama, what are you doing? Why are you putting us through this? Daddy's done nothing but love you and take care of you, and you're here with lawyers, making accusations. Tamika. My voice came out stronger than I expected. Baby, there's so much you don't know. I know my father. She was crying now, mascara running down her cheeks. I know he worked 2 jobs when we were kids so we could have everything. I know he paid for my wedding. I know he helped Darnell with his down payment. And I know you've been different lately, Mama. Forgetful, paranoid, making up stories. The stories are real, I said quietly. And I have proof. Vernon laughed. Actually laughed. Proof? You have confusion, Dolores. You have paranoia. And now you have lawyers feeding you lies because they smell money. He turned to Attorney Morris. How much are you charging my sick wife? How much are you taking advantage of an elderly woman who clearly isn't in her right mind? 2 security guards appeared in the doorway, big brothers, both of them looking at the situation with careful eyes. Ma'am? The older one addressed Attorney Morris. We need these folks to leave? Yes, immediately. They're harassing my client. Harassing? Vernon's voice rose. That's my wife. I have a right. You have no rights in this office, Attorney Morris snapped. And if you don't leave right now, these officers will escort you out, and I'll file for a restraining order before end of business today. Vernon stared at me for a long moment. The man looking back at me wasn't the man I'd married 42 years ago. Or maybe he was, and I was just seeing clearly for the first time. You're going to regret this. Dolores, he said softly. You're going to lose everything. The house, your children, your grandchildren, everything. Sir, let's go. The security guard's hand was on Vernon's elbow now, firm but professional. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. Tamika was sobbing as they left, Vernon's arm around her shoulders, both of them looking back at me like I was a stranger, like I was the villain in this story. The door clicked shut. My legs gave out. I sank into the chair, shaking so hard my teeth were chattering. Dolores, breathe. Attorney Morris was kneeling beside me, her hand on my shoulder. Breathe. You're safe. He can't hurt you here. My daughter, I whispered. Did you see her face? She hates me. She doesn't hate you. She's been lied to, manipulated, just like you were. Attorney Morris squeezed my shoulder. But the truth will come out. I promise you that. I wanted to believe her. But right then, sitting in that cold office with my hands shaking and my heart breaking, I'd never felt more alone in my life. The next few days were a special kind of hell. Darnell called, his voice tight. Ma, what's going on? Tamika says you're divorcing Dad, filing criminal charges? This can't be real. I tried to explain. Tried to tell him about the hidden accounts, the forged signatures, the systematic theft. But I could hear it in his voice. The doubt, the concern, the same tone he'd use with a child telling wild stories. Ma, I think you need to come stay with me and Shanice for a while, just until we figure out what's really going on. Maybe get you evaluated by a professional. I don't need to be evaluated, Darnell. I need you to listen. I am listening, Ma, and I'm hearing someone who sounds not like yourself. Dad says you've been having episodes, getting confused, accusing him of crazy things. And now this lawyer. Ma, how do you even know she's legit? How do you know she's not taking advantage of you? I hung up. Couldn't bear to hear my baby boy. The child I'd rocked to sleep and nursed through fevers and cheered at every football game. Couldn't bear to hear him talk to me like I was losing my mind. But I wasn't alone. Wanda came over every day, bringing food and prayer and the kind of friendship that doesn't waver. And then something unexpected happened. Sunday morning I went to church. Walked into Greater Mount Zion Baptist with my head high, even though I wanted to hide. Vernon was already there, sitting in our usual pew with Tamika and her kids. The whispers started the moment I walked in. I sat in the back, alone, felt every eye on me. Pastor Reginald Thompson preached about truth and justice that morning, about standing firm in the face of opposition. I don't know if he knew about my situation or if it was divine timing, but his words hit different that day. After service, I was headed to my car when I heard, "Sister Dolores, wait up!" It was Corinne Matthews, the church secretary. She'd been at Greater Mount Zion longer than anybody, had known Vernon and me since we were young. She was 73 now, sharp as a tack, didn't miss nothing. "Sister Dolores," she said, slightly out of breath. "I heard about you and Brother Vernon, and I need to tell you something. Something I should have told you years ago." My heart started pounding. "What is it, Sister Corinne?" She looked around, making sure we were alone in the parking lot. "About 12 years ago, Vernon came to me, asked me to witness some papers he needed signed, said it was for refinancing the church building fund loan we'd co-signed years before, remember?" I nodded. We'd helped the church secure a loan back in the day when they were building the new fellowship hall. "Well, I looked at those papers, Dolores, and they weren't church papers. They were mortgage papers for your house, a second mortgage. And the signature on them? It said, Dolores Kincaid, but..." She paused, her eyes full of regret. "But you weren't there. It was just Vernon. And when I asked him about it, he said you'd signed earlier, but he needed a witness signature. Said you were at home sick." The parking lot tilted. "You saw him forge my signature?" I didn't know that's what I was seeing. Not then. He was so smooth about it, so casual. And I trusted him. We all did. But after I signed as witness, something about it bothered me. Kept bothering me. I almost said something so many times, but I told myself I must have been mistaken, that surely Brother Vernon wouldn't. She grabbed my hands. I'm so sorry, Dolores. So sorry. If I'd spoken up then, it's not your fault, I said, even though I was reeling. He fooled everybody. But Sister Corinne, would you be willing to tell this to my lawyer? To testify? Honey, I'll testify anywhere you need me. In court, in front of the whole church, anywhere. What he did was wrong. What he's been doing is wrong. And I won't be silent anymore. Before we continue, if this story resonates with you, please hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss our next story. I cried in that parking lot. Not sad tears, angry tears, grateful tears. Because I wasn't crazy. I wasn't imagining things. And now I had a witness. Attorney Morris nearly jumped out of her chair when I told her. He had someone witness a forgery? Dolores, this is huge. This gives us a paper trail with a living witness who can testify to his pattern of fraud. I need to meet with Sister Corinne as soon as possible. We met at Wanda's house 2 days later. Me, Attorney Morris, Wanda, and Sister Corinne. And that's when Sister Corinne dropped another bomb. There's something else, she said, her hands wrapped around a cup of tea. After I signed those papers, I started paying attention, started noticing things, like how Vernon always made sure to count the offering money alone, how he insisted on handling the benevolence fund personally, how he bought that new Cadillac right after the church paid off a big insurance claim. Attorney Morris leaned forward. Are you saying... I'm saying I think Vernon might have been stealing from the church, too. The room went silent. Sister Corinne, I said slowly, are you sure? I'm not sure of anything, but I have questions, lots of questions, and I think maybe it's time somebody looked at the books real careful. Because Vernon's been treasurer of the finance committee for 15 years, and in all that time, nobody's ever audited the accounts. That Sunday, Sister Corinne went to Pastor Thompson, told him everything. And by Monday afternoon, the church had hired a forensic accountant. By Wednesday, Vernon was removed from the finance committee. By Friday, the accountant had found irregularities totaling over $80,000. Vernon's world was crumbling, and he was desperate. That's when things got dangerous. I was staying with Wanda, but I still had things at the house. Clothes, photos, my grandmother's jewelry. Attorney Morris said I had a right to get my belongings, and she arranged for a police escort. Friday afternoon, me and Officer Keisha Williams, a young sister from the neighborhood who'd grown up in our church, went to the house. Vernon's car wasn't in the driveway. Good. I didn't want to see him. But when we walked in, the house was destroyed. Not destroyed like a robbery, destroyed with purpose. Every photo of me had been ripped out of frames, my face scratched out or torn. My clothes were cut up, scissors still on the bedroom floor. My grandmother's china, the set that had been passed down 3 generations, was smashed to pieces in the kitchen. And on the bedroom mirror, written in red lipstick, "Crazy lying bitch." Officer Williams was on her radio immediately. "This is domestic violence. This is threatening behavior. Mrs. Kincaid, we need to document everything and file a report. And you need a restraining order. Today." I couldn't move. Just stood there staring at 42 years of memories destroyed. At the hatred in those words. At what my husband, the man who'd promised to love and cherish me, had become. Or maybe what he'd always been. And I'd just been too blind to see. We were documenting the damage, Officer Williams taking photos, when my phone rang. Tamika. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. "Mama." Her voice was strange, small. "Mama, where are you?" "I'm at the house, baby, getting my things. What's wrong?" "Don't go in the garage. Please don't go in the garage." My blood went cold. "Tamika, what's in the garage?" She was crying now. "I came by to talk to Daddy, to tell him he needed to work things out with you, that this was getting out of hand, and I went in the garage looking for him and I found— Mama, I found files. So many files. Bank statements in your name for accounts you don't know about. Loan papers. And Mama," her voice broke, "there's a file labeled contingency plan, and it has information about nursing homes, places to commit you, places where you'd be locked up and drugged and forgotten about." The room spun. Officer Williams grabbed my arm to steady me. He was going to have me committed? "There's more, Mama. There's so much more. Photos of you like he was following you, recording when you left the house, where you went, who you talked to. Mama, I'm scared. I'm scared of what Daddy might do." "Where is he now?" "I don't know. His phone is off, his car is gone. I called Darnell and he's on his way here, but Mama, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry I didn't believe you. I'm so sorry I— Tamika, listen to me. Take those files and get out of there. Right now. Go to your brother's house. Take your kids and go somewhere your father doesn't know about. Do you understand me?" "You think he'd hurt me? His own daughter?" I thought about the destroyed house, the lipstick message, the contingency plan to have me locked away. "I think your father is a man who's about to lose everything, and desperate men do desperate things. So yes, baby, I think you need to be careful." Officer Williams was already calling for backup, making calls to the detective handling Vernon's fraud case. The situation had just escalated from financial crime to something darker. And Vernon? Vernon was somewhere out there, his whole life imploding, knowing that his daughter had just found his secrets. That's when my phone rang again. Unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answered. "Hello?" Heavy breathing. Then Vernon's voice, cold and empty. "You've taken everything from me, Dolores. Everything. My reputation, my church, my own children. So now I'm going to take something from you." "Vernon? Where are you? Tell me, Dolores. How much do you love those grandkids?" My heart stopped. "Vernon, don't you dare! Zion and Isaiah are at soccer practice right now, aren't they? At the park on Cascade Road? Shanice drops them off, leaves them there for an hour while she runs errands? Vernon, those are your grandsons. And you turned my own daughter against me. You ruined my life. So maybe it's time you learned what loss really feels like." The line went dead. I was running before I could think, Officer Williams right behind me, radio already calling for units to Cascade Road Park. We jumped in her patrol car, lights and sirens blazing, racing across Atlanta. "Please, God," I prayed, "please let us get there in time. Please don't let him hurt those babies. Please." We pulled up to the park, tires screeching. The soccer field was full of kids and parents. Normal. Everything looked normal. Then I saw him. Vernon, standing by the parking lot, watching the field, watching his grandsons, and in his hand, barely visible, was something that made my blood turn to ice. He saw me. Our eyes met across the parking lot, and Vernon smiled. That's when everything went straight to hell. Officer Williams had her weapon drawn before I could blink. "Sir, show me your hands, right now." Vernon looked at her, then back at me. That smile never left his face. He slowly raised his hands, and what I'd seen in his hand wasn't a weapon. It was his phone, camera pointed at the soccer field. At his grandsons. "I'm just a grandfather watching his grandsons play soccer," Vernon called out, his voice carrying across the parking lot. "Is that a crime, officer?" More patrol cars were pulling up, lights flashing. Parents on the sidelines were grabbing their kids, confused and scared. Coach Benjamin was already hustling the boys off the field, and there were Zion and Isaiah, 8 years old, looking terrified as they watched police surround their grandfather. "Vernon Kincaid," Officer Williams kept her voice steady, professional. "Put the phone down and step away from the vehicle." "Or what? You'll shoot me for watching my own grandsons?" He was playing to the crowd now, and I could see some parents looking at us like we were the problem. My wife has gone crazy, turned my own children against me, and now I can't even watch my grandbabies play soccer. Daddy! Darnell came running from the parking lot, Shanice right behind him. He must have raced here after Tamika called him. Daddy, what are you doing? What am I doing? What is your mother doing, son? She's having me followed. She's got lawyers bleeding our money dry. She's making up stories about me to anyone who'll listen. And now she's got police pointing guns at me for being at a public park. Mr. Kincaid, a detective I didn't recognize, stepped forward, badge displayed. I'm Detective James Harrison. We need you to come with us. We have some questions about financial irregularities, both in your personal accounts and at Greater Mount Zion Baptist Church. Vernon's face went pale, then red. This is harassment. This is an investigation into fraud, forgery, and embezzlement. You can come voluntarily, or we can do this the hard way. Your choice. I watched my husband of 42 years look around at the gathering crowd. At our son, at the police, at me. And I saw the moment he realized it was over. The mask cracked. Not in anger this time, but in something worse. Panic. Dolores, please. His voice broke. Please, baby. Don't let them do this. We can work this out. We can fix this. Just tell them it's all a misunderstanding. You threatened our grandchildren, I said quietly. You destroyed our home. You tried to have me locked up in a nursing home. You stole from me, from our church, from everyone who trusted you. There's nothing to fix, Vernon. There's only consequences. Ma'am, we need you to come down to the station too, Detective Harrison said to me. To give a statement. Officer Williams will drive you. They put Vernon in cuffs, right there in the parking lot, in front of God and everybody. Darnell was crying, Shanice holding him. The twins ran to me, wrapped their arms around my waist. Grandma, why are they taking Papa? Zion asked, his voice small. I knelt down, pulled them both close. Because sometimes grown-ups make bad choices. But you're safe. I promise you're safe. At the police station, I gave my statement. Told them everything, the hidden accounts, the forged signatures, the gaslighting, the threats. Officer Williams had already submitted her report about the destroyed house. Sister Corinne came in to give her statement about witnessing the forgery, and Tamika showed up with boxes of files from the garage. Mama! She could barely look at me. Mama, I'm so sorry. There's evidence here of everything. Years of stealing. From you. From the church. From his own brother's business. He was the accountant for Uncle Raymond's store, and there's statements showing he embezzled over $50,000 from there too. We sat in the detective's office, going through papers until my eyes burned. Bank statements showing Vernon had been systematically draining my mother's inheritance, the money she'd left me from selling her house, into his private accounts. Loan papers with my forged signature. Credit cards I'd never opened in my name, maxed out and never paid. And the contingency plan file. That was the worst. Pages of research on how to have someone declared incompetent. Symptoms to claim I was showing. Doctors he'd consulted about early onset dementia. All of it building a case to have me locked away so he could have full control of everything. He was going to erase you, Detective Harrison said grimly. Systematically remove your autonomy, your rights, your very identity, and then he'd have complete access to all marital assets with no oversight. How long? I asked. How long was he planning this? Based on these documents? At least 5 years? Maybe longer. 5 years. While I was making him dinner and washing his clothes and playing the good wife. While I was doubting myself, wondering if I really was losing my mind, he'd been planning to have me locked away. The rage that hit me then was like nothing I'd ever felt. But underneath the rage was something else, something that felt almost like relief. Because I wasn't crazy. I never was. And now everyone knew it. Before we continue, please drop a comment if you've ever experienced something like this. We'd love to hear your story and subscribe to the channel to help us grow. The next 3 months were a blur. Vernon was charged with 12 counts of fraud, 7 counts of forgery, embezzlement from the church, and a whole list of other crimes I couldn't even keep track of. His bail was set high, real high, and he couldn't make it. He sat in jail while the case built against him. The church was in an uproar. Some people couldn't believe it. Brother Vernon? The man who'd been treasurer for 15 years? The man who'd helped so many families? Impossible. But the evidence didn't lie. The forensic accountant found over $120,000 stolen from church funds over a decade. Money that should have gone to the building fund, to missions, to helping families in need. All of it diverted to Vernon's accounts. Pastor Thompson stood before the congregation one Sunday and told the truth. All of it. "We have been deceived," he said, his voice heavy. "We have trusted when we should have verified. We have enabled when we should have questioned. And Sister Dolores has suffered while we were blind." After service, people I'd known for 30 years came up to me crying, apologizing. Sister Martha, who'd given me the cold shoulder for weeks, grabbed my hands. "I'm so sorry, Dolores. I thought you were tearing your family apart. I didn't know. None of us knew." But some people did know. More came forward. Brother Jerome said Vernon had borrowed $5,000 from him 3 years ago, said it was for emergency home repairs, never paid it back. Sister Angela remembered Vernon offering to help with her late husband's life insurance paperwork, and afterward, some of that money went missing. A pattern emerged. Decades of manipulation, small thefts here and there, taking advantage of trust, of friendship, of Christian charity, all while playing the role of devoted husband, loving father, faithful church member. The divorce proceedings were almost anticlimactic after everything else. Attorney Morris presented the evidence, the documented fraud, the forged signatures, the hidden assets. Vernon's lawyer tried to argue that I was a bitter wife making up stories, but the paper trail was undeniable. The recorded conversations were damning. The witnesses were credible. The judge, an older black woman named Judge Elaine Foster, looked at Vernon with disgust. "Mr. Kincaid, in my 30 years on the bench, I have never seen such a systematic abuse of trust. You didn't just steal money. You attempted to steal your wife's very sanity, her autonomy, her freedom. You tried to have her institutionalized so you could continue your theft unchecked." Vernon sat there, head down, lawyer whispering in his ear. "The divorce is granted," Judge Foster continued. "Mrs. Kincaid is awarded the marital home, her mother's inheritance, what's left of it, and half of all assets acquired during the marriage. Mr. Kincaid, you will pay restitution for the funds you stole, and may God have mercy on your soul, because this court has none." Walking out of that courthouse, I felt like I could breathe for the first time in years. Tamika was on one side of me, Darnell on the other, both my children, finally knowing the truth, finally believing me. "Mama," Darnell said, his voice thick, "I'm so sorry. I should have listened, should have believed you." "You believed what you were raised to believe," I said. "That your father was a good man. That's not your fault, baby. That's his." The criminal trial came next. Vernon's lawyer tried to make a deal, but the DA wasn't having it. Too many victims, too much theft, too systematic. They wanted the full case prosecuted. I had to testify, had to sit in that witness box and tell a courtroom full of strangers how my husband had abused me. Had to recount the gaslighting, the financial control, the threats. Had to listen to the defense attorney try to paint me as a vindictive ex-wife with an axe to grind. But then Sister Corinne testified. Officer Williams testified about the destroyed house and the threatening phone call. The forensic accountants testified about the theft. Uncle Raymond testified about his missing business funds. And the paper trail, that beautiful, terrible paper trail, told a story even the best lawyer couldn't spin. The jury deliberated for 4 hours, found Vernon guilty on all counts. Judge Foster sentenced him to 12 years in prison. Not enough for what he'd done, but more than many abusers get. He'd be 72 when he got out, if he made it that long. I didn't cry when the sentence came down. Didn't feel triumph or satisfaction or relief. Just tired. Bone-deep tired. That night, my children took me to dinner. Just the 3 of us at Pascal's restaurant, soul food and sweet tea and honest conversation. "Mama, how did you survive it?" Tamika asked. "All those years, how did you keep going?" I thought about that. I almost didn't, I admitted. There were days I thought maybe they were right. Maybe I was losing my mind. But something in me refused to believe it. Call it stubbornness, call it survival instinct, call it God. Something wouldn't let me go. "You're the strongest woman I know," Darnell said, "and I'm sorry it took me so long to see it." "You see it now. That's what matters." We raised our sweet tea glasses. "To Mama," Tamika said. "To truth, to freedom, to new beginnings." "To new beginnings," I echoed. 6 months later, I was sitting on my front porch, my house, my space, watching the sunset. The house had been cleaned out, repaired, made new again. No more of Vernon's things, no more memories of him. Just space for me to breathe and be and become whoever I wanted to be at 67 years old. Wanda came by with peach cobbler. We sat on the porch swing, eating and talking and laughing. "You know what I realized?" I said. "I spent 42 years making myself smaller, quieter, more convenient, trying to be the perfect wife to a man who didn't deserve it. And now I get to figure out who Dolores is. Not Mrs. Vernon Kincaid, just Dolores." "And who is Dolores?" Wanda asked. I thought about that. Someone who survived. Someone who fought back. Someone who tells the truth even when it's hard. I smiled. Someone who's still figuring it out. And that's okay. My grandchildren came over every weekend now. Zion and Isaiah, Tamika's 3. We baked cookies and watched movies and talked about everything. I didn't hide the truth from them, told them age-appropriate versions of what their grandfather had done. Because they needed to know that even people you love can hurt you. That trust has to be earned. That standing up for yourself is never wrong. The church created a new oversight system for finances. Multiple people had to approve every transaction. Regular audits. Transparency. They asked me to be on the committee, and I said yes. Because accountability matters. Because silence enables abuse. Because if my story could prevent even one person from being victimized, then maybe all this pain would mean something. I started volunteering at a domestic violence shelter, teaching financial literacy classes for women trying to leave abusive situations, helping them understand that abuse isn't always physical. That control can look like protection. That gaslighting is real and insidious and can make you doubt your own mind. And I told my story, over and over. At church groups, at community centers, at senior centers. Told it because other women needed to hear it. Needed to know they weren't alone, weren't crazy, weren't imagining things. "My name is Dolores Kincaid," I'd start. "And for 42 years I was married to a man who stole from me while convincing me I was losing my mind. But I'm here to tell you, if you think something is wrong, if your gut is telling you to question, if you feel like you're being erased in your own life, trust yourself. Trust your instincts. Because you're not imagining things. And you're not alone." 1 year after the divorce was finalized, I went back to school, community college, taking classes in accounting. Because I never wanted to be financially helpless again. Never wanted to have to depend on anyone else to understand money or make decisions about my own life. My classmates were mostly kids young enough to be my grandchildren. They called me Miss D and asked me for advice and treated me with respect. And I loved it. Loved learning. Loved proving that 68 wasn't too old for new beginnings. Tamika came to my graduation, brought flowers and tears and pride. "Mama, I'm so proud of you, starting over like this, building a new life." "Baby, I'm not starting over," I told her. "I'm starting fresh. There's a difference. Starting over implies you're going back to the beginning. Starting fresh means you're taking everything you learned and building something new." Vernon wrote me letters from prison. I didn't read them. Sent them back unopened every time. I had nothing to say to him. No forgiveness to offer. No closure to seek. He'd taken enough of my life. He wasn't getting one more moment of my attention. But I did forgive myself. For believing his lies, for staying so long, for doubting my own mind, because I'd done the best I could with what I knew at the time. And when I knew better, I did better. 2 years after that day in Attorney Morris's office, the day I held those divorce papers with shaking hands and saw the truth in black and white, I threw myself a freedom party, invited everyone who'd stood by me, Wanda and Sister Corinne and Attorney Morris and Officer Williams and Pastor Thompson and all my children and grandchildren and half the church. We ate and laughed and celebrated. Celebrated truth. Celebrated survival. Celebrated the fact that at 69 years old, I was finally free. Pastor Thompson pulled me aside. "Sister Dolores, I want you to know, you changed this church. Changed how we see abuse. Changed how we protect the vulnerable. Your courage saved more people than you know." I looked around at the party, at the people who'd believed me, supported me, stood with me, at the life I'd built from the ashes of my old one. "You know what the funny thing is?" I said. "Vernon thought he was destroying me, thought having me served with divorce papers would break me. But those papers?" I smiled. "Those papers set me free. They proved everything. They showed the world who he really was and who I really was. He meant them as a weapon, but they became my shield, my proof, my vindication." That night, lying in my bed, in my house, in my new life, I thought about everything that had happened. The pain and the fear and the gaslighting and the fight. The moment I found those hidden bank statements. The moment I wore a wire. The moment I filed those papers. The moment the truth came out. And I realized something. Vernon hadn't just stolen money. He'd tried to steal my reality, my sanity, my sense of self. He'd tried to make me disappear while I was still alive. But he'd failed. Because I was still here, still standing, still fighting, still free. They said I was imagining things in my marriage, said I was confused, said I was losing my mind. But the divorce papers proved everything. And the truth set me free. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to subscribe and feel free to share your story in the comments. Your voice matters.